So I just want to say thank you, everyone, for being here. Elvira is one of my newest friends. She's a beautiful woman. Leon is a handsome man. Good deal. And so this is one of her necklaces that I'm wearing that is a 3D printed. The latest technology of 3D printing. And she's also wearing one. I'll let you, she'll talk about it more. First, I'd like to thank the sponsors for the show. As usual, we have the sponsors, that Judy Fair Spalding and the Heritage Inn, and the other folks that are still been doing the same thing, but we always appreciate new sponsors. So we're going to let Elvira tell you about her artwork, which is, I love the architectural, I call it architectural aspects, but she's going to explain more. And also just to remind you that museum members get a 10% discount on purchases today. So, anything else?
I can start.
Anybody else? Okay, okay. All right, go for it.
Does it work?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, well, thanks first of all for having me here. I'm very glad that I can travel and bring my artwork out here and you guys can see it. And very glad that I can actually talk about it. It's always a great opportunity to sort of relate my work back to the community, to people, especially those who come out and want to see it. So I'm going to read this first and then go through the slides and talk individually about each piece that's here, and some of the work that's on the slides is not here. Originally from Ukraine, I was born and raised there. I'm currently based in San Francisco Bay Area. I work in series of large abstract drawings done in soft pastel on paper. I also make 3D printed mixed media sculpture and process drawings. Process drawings, I call those pieces, they're paper cuts. They're over there, and I'll show you more on the slides. My work may be described as conceptually surreal, influenced by modern architecture, spatial organization, order, entropy, and the universe. What is space? How and where do we fit in? Those are the always ever-present questions to myself and my art making. In my work, one may find references to the 20th century Russian avant-garde, the constructivism, the suprematism, as well as such early modernists as Matisse, specifically his paper cuts, and Cézanne's paintings. I'd like to think of my work as having its own original 21st century voice. I was trained as an artist and an architect. I have a bachelor's in fine arts, and I have master's in architecture. I also work in new media, which includes digital rendering, surface and space visualization, and my work is interwoven and interconnected between and within the media I use. You can see a lot of color in my work, and strong, sort of carefully considered color, bold geometric form. I frequently incorporate depictions of the female archetype. The female figure is often placed alone in an invented landscape. Color and line announce her presence. Her voice is loud, vivid, and red. I see myself as a minimalist, using only as much as needed to convey an idea. The color I use carries its own vision. Invented landscapes are new realities. They are constructs. They provide a vision for an abstracted notion of a place and space. In my work, the landscape is deconstructed and reimagined as a new notion. My work is my metaphor for searching. My landscapes and invented places implicate the presence of the unknown. Creation of a cutout paper patterns or process drawings begins in the same way as my hand drawings. Similarly, as a conceptual idea evolves, the process of making foreground and background constantly trade places and challenge each other. Most of the time it feels like a game. Patterns made have no repetition in them, yet there is a visual language which they speak occasionally. A figure pays a visit. With every piece worked on and made, whether it is drawing, sculpture, regardless of media, it is almost always a commentary on the human condition. Where we are, what are we, where are we heading, how do we see ourselves in the future. My process in creating work may be described as a kind of blindness at first. As I am working through the drawing, there is a moment when all of a sudden there is a slit, a cranny of light, which opens up, and then I can see. At this moment, the doors of a new vision, a new perception open up. As the fog of the reality shifts and morphs, the fuzzy outlines take on a different meaning, and ideas and concepts stand out. This opening of the subconscious enables me to create new work, manifesting my personal observation of the world and the human condition. In the fog, I search for the sublime. For me, it is when the dark and gray become poetry. So that's my piece. So I would like to talk about the work specifically about each piece. So the content of each piece. And of course, in art, when we look at it, and when I look at someone else's art, there's ideas that arise, but there's also, those notions that an artist puts in, and I would like to sort of talk about it, what it is for me, and then if you have questions afterwards, or, your ideas, I would definitely welcome that. So here in this work, it's called Double Sun, and it's sort of about this moment in someone's life where you observe a thing that can't really happen for us on Earth. We don't have two suns, it's only one. And we're sort of, there's this, person, it's androgynous, no reference to their gender, but it's someone, it's you who's sort of separated on a podium from the mundane, from the built out, from the man-made landscape. And, it's you in that sort of magical moment, looking, up in the sky, and you see this, occurrence that can't really happen. This piece, it's called She's Bridge, and there is a female figure, and this figure is sort of reclining in the landscape, and she's, kind of folded her hands, and she's, laying down. And there's reference with the two kind of large green areas, reference to the landscape, the screen. And then underneath her, it's sort of like a canyon, a gap. And she acts as this sort of bridging element. She's relaxed, yet she's strong to connect the two lands masses with the canyon underneath. And again, underneath her, there is the man-made, the structures. Is it high-rises? Is it something created there? The man-made landscape. And at the same time, at her feet, there's this sort of extension of suggested cellular structures, at red blood cells, something, but it's a reference to sort of the bodily composition, what our sort of what we are made out of. Then I made. I have two series of works. This is a diptych, and you can see them here too. So there's a diptych and a triptych, and they're made on the same topic. And I rarely make work that relates directly to a specific event. In fact, I don't have any work except for these two pieces and those that relate to a specific event. But when at the time when Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting happened, I guess it shook me so much that when I went to make my work, I guess I couldn't make any other work but work about that. And so I just started drawing, and I guess it sort of, you know, happened. And basically, in this diptych, you can see on the right, you can see the 26 people that have been murdered. There are 20 children and 6 adults in the back, and they are in a coffin-like cutout. And in this cutout, in this window, even though it's in the shape of a sort of, you know, referencing a coffin, they're still, you know, in our presence, in our minds. They're present in our minds, where they still have a reference, you know, of the ground and the sky. There's a horizon line, and so we can see through into that, you know. Even though they're gone from the earth, but they are within us. And on the left, it's the piece on the left. So there's an overall title, and each one also has a title. This one is called Strung Up, and this one is called The Bloody Murderer. And when I sort of worked on both of those pieces at the same time, you can see sort of the process, the photograph of the work as it was being made. And I couldn't really, I didn't know what to put in the mirror image of that coffin for the bloody murderer. And I started drawing something, but I really couldn't bring myself to make anything sort of any shape that would really reference the person who had committed this crime. And I just like went, you know, just crazy with the red over in that shape. What else really kind of affected me when I was making this work, I was reading the papers, and they were saying that when they wanted to bury 20 children, they didn't have enough coffins of that size. And they had to make them in a hurry, but this whole idea that, you know, no one can even anticipate such a tragedy that can, you know, that you have to bury 20 kids at the same time. They had to scramble to have to get enough coffins. So that's essentially why it's, you know, strung up. It's these sort of boxes of burial. So this is the second piece that followed that diptych. This is a triptych, and I guess after I made the diptych, I think I was not fully over this topic. It was still in my mind. It was so overwhelming that I had to make another piece. And in this piece, it's a slightly different take on that tragedy. This is an idea of the mother. So there is a woman on the left-hand side, and a female figure with a bump, sort of, you know, showing that she might be pregnant. And this is an archetype for motherhood. And she's wearing this scarf, and the white scarf goes through 3 works. And this idea of a scarf, of this of a female trying to nurture and protect her children, and so that scarf, it, you know, serves as a sky, I guess, as a protective element of all the people who have died in that shooting. And even the adults were rather young. The teachers who have died, they were in their 20s, and then so the middle piece is called 27 Pistachios. So it's mother, 27 pistachios, and there were 26. And in the 27 pistachios, it's almost there's these nuts, and they have each one has a nut in it. It has a heart. It has the filling. And there's one that is empty. And the 26 people have died. 27th is the one who is the heartless one who was, committing the crime. And I know we've just had San Bernardino shooting, and it's just never ending. It's very tragic. This is a piece that has a sort of female notion where, again, it's an idea of a mother, and she's kind of hugging her children. The reference here is where she's kind of like becoming part of the background. Like you can see parts of her are sort of taken up, by what's surrounding her, and then there's sort of green elements of suggesting of, I guess, natural environment, the green, but it's all sort of converged into one figure. This one is a little bit of a puzzle. It always, for me, it's almost like a psychological experiment when I talk to people. So it's called Each One Must Have a Dream. And there are 5 individuals, and each one has sort of a balloon that, maybe symbolizing each one's dream. And people see this artwork differently. Some people come and they say, oh, this person's dream hasn't been fulfilled. Or someone might say, oh wow, there's so much more to do to fill in that, balloon and make, more with your life. So it's quite interesting how people sort of take this work. But again, kind of keeping, my palette is I love color, I love bright color, but I always sort of try to keep it very controlled, just to kind of convey enough. This one is called My Neighborhood. I've been asked if I live in such a place. No, it's not. I mean, it's called My Neighborhood, but it's not my neighborhood. And it's kind of like this idea. So now in San Francisco, there's a lot of displacement going on. In fact, the studios I was in, it's no longer available. It was there for 30 years. Now the building owner is moving on. All the artists are gone, and it's an ongoing issue with real estate. And in San Francisco, there's so much displacement of people who have lived for years in places, and now new development comes in. And so this was sort of influenced by that. You're kind of, again, with this sphere hovering over your head, and you're, as a small individual, up against constructed, whatever it is, landscape or structures, or a larger machine that sort of rules your life. This one is called Flying Potato Dropping Leaflets. So yeah, a lot of my work has kind of like a little bit of pun in it. And it was sort of, I was thinking about drones. And I was like, my potato is the drone of today. And we're just droning around, spreading the democracy. This one is called Filet Mignon. And it has, if you can see the outline on the left-hand side of the city. And it might be referencing like right here. I don't know if this is good. Oh yeah. So yes, this outline, this maybe
Transamerica
building.
Cool.
Some skylines and high-rises. There's a little bit of a reference to San Francisco small, sort of 30 by 90 lots of houses. And this was really sort of a kind of funny take on us fetishizing our food, and where there was a time, and I think there's not as much of it now, but maybe a year or two maybe 2-3 years ago. Facebook came around earlier, but people have been going to restaurants and they're just shooting their food, and they're full plates with burgers or different meats and salads and this and that, and it almost felt like your evening didn't succeed if you didn't have a photograph of your food. so this was sort of a comment on that. This is called Funnels, and it was funny when I brought this piece to the framer. He had to call me a few times. He was like, "Are you sure this is?" Yes, the people are upside down. It's called Funnels, and it's sort of being sucked through.